of northeast Syria. Along with nearly 40,000 others, she fled the fighting in Baghouz, one of the few areas still held by Islamic State militants. Simeon Brown reports.
This is Shamima Begum when she was a schoolgirl. It has been 4 years since she ran away from her safe family home in East London to live under the so-called Islamic State, where she became a jihadi bride. She was just 15. Today we can hear her for the first time. In an interview with The Times, Shamima Begum described life under the Islamic State group.
It was like a normal life, the life that they show on the propaganda videos.
Did you ever see executions?
No, but I saw a beheaded head in the bin.
What was that like when you first saw that? These are the heads of captives?
Yeah, I didn't think me at all.
But now 9 months pregnant, she wants to come home to the UK.
I have to think about my baby as well. After my 2 kids died, now I'm really overprotective of this baby. I'm scared that this baby's going to get sick in this camp. That's why I really want to get back to Britain.
On the one hand, you said you didn't regret coming to be part of the caliphate.
I don't regret it.
In her own words, she has no regrets. These pictures show Shamima Begum and her 2 school friends Amira and Khadiza when they first arrived in Turkey, poised to be smuggled into Syria. And this is the world they were about to join. This is life inside the caliphate, first revealed by Channel 4 News in 2013. Over 4,000 women from around the world, including Britain, have flown out to marry fighters here.
Oh yes, what did I say you do?
These pictures captured the minutiae of their lives in the early days.
We'll try and get the fresh covers this time, inshallah.
But today, 6 years on, the power of the Islamic State group has collapsed. The success of US airstrikes and the coalition of forces on the ground has pushed the extremists out of most of the territory they occupied and proven costly. Shamima Begum says her husband was captured, and it is believed that school friend Khadiza Sultana died in airstrikes. Today, Shamima, born in Britain, is living amongst almost 40,000 refugees in a camp in northern Syria. The question is what should happen to her now?
Initially, we all said that she was a victim. These girls were victims. What's changed is the last 4 years, but that's a matter for the authorities. As and when she returns, or even before, the police and the security services can carry out an investigation to see whether or not any crimes have been committed, and if they have, then she should be prosecuted. If they haven't, then we should be considering rehabilitating her.
That's the assessment of this former chief prosecutor, but his view is far from universal. The government say that they will not be sending officials into this part of Syria to rescue Shamima and her unborn baby. But they and the international community face a dilemma. Over 41,000 citizens from 80 countries joined IS in Iraq and Syria, and with over 8,000 of them women and children, some who have been groomed or bought against their will. What happens to the thousands currently in limbo who have now decided that home is not a caliphate in Syria after all?
Well, earlier I spoke to Tasneem Akanji, who's the lawyer for the Begum family. I began by asking if he thought her recent comments suggested she was still in the grip of ISIS ideology.
Well, I think it's very difficult and frankly troubling that we take the statements of a young woman who's in a camp with 36,000 other people, many of who are ISIS supporters, in YPG territory, without thinking about the fact that her words are going to have a direct impact on her where she is right now. So we need to take that into account, that if she were to speak out fundamentally against ISIS right now, when the cameras are off her, she may well be in severe danger. So what we are imploring people to do is, and our government to do, is to take her to a place of safety and then question her properly with professionals. And on the back of what evidence comes out, then she's to be treated by a process of law.
The security minister was quite clear that, British personnel would not be sent in to sort of support or rescue Shamima in any way. What do you make of that?
Well, I think his statement came at the basis of a fallacy in that he said he didn't want to send British personnel and risk their lives to bring her back. But we have a British journalist there, quite happily walking around, interviewing her. It's a camp that's well protected by the YPG, relatively well resourced. And so there's no real risk to any individual going in there in an official capacity to help her.
Given the fact that she's sided with a group that has attacked European cities, that has killed British citizens, taken others hostage, and potentially has broken the law by being part of that terrorist group, she should be prosecuted, shouldn't she? She was a 15-year-old girl when she went out there, and we say, and Bernard Hogenhow at the time, who was the head of the Metropolitan Police, recognised the fact that she'd be treated as a victim. In terms of what's happened since then, as she's reached adulthood and what evidence there is around any further crimes that she may have committed as an adult, then certainly she ought to answer for what she's done. Because now as an adult, she says she doesn't regret going, and that does put a slightly different perspective on it, doesn't it? As an adult in a camp with ISIS supporters surrounding you, she says that. If we can get her to a place of safety where her safety can be guaranteed, there's no duress around her, no fear of consequence, then let's see what she says then.